On February 4th, 2022, at 8:15 AM local time, a kite crossing across the Gulfstream and the Straits of Florida started from Bimini Island, the westernmost island of the Bahamas, on the sandy beach of Key Biscayne in Miami. 108 kilometers of open water, roughly 6 hours of voyaging to cross it, and only 3 kiters who dared to challenge nature. The international team included professionals in their field. The famous Russian kiter and holder of the world record for crossing the Bering Strait on a kiteboard, Konstantin Aksenov. The world traveller and director of the Sodis company, Vladimir Popov, as well as the American kite trainer, Ribot. For Konstantin Aksenov and Vladimir Popov, this is far from the first joint experience of conquering the waves and wind. Together, they accomplished a kite crossing from Mauritius to Reunion Island across the Indian Ocean, covering a distance of 203 kilometers.
I was shocked because I didn't know this was possible, and I was fascinating about this story, etc., etc.
In November 2018, this achievement entered the Russian Book of Records as the longest kite relay. Their passage across the Indian Ocean was completed in 9 hours, 9 minutes, and 41 seconds. In 2019, they repeated this feat, and in the same year, Konstantin and Vladimir went on their most difficult crossing yet, of Sakhalin to Hokkaido. But unfortunately, severe weather conditions prevented the new record from being set. This time, however, they were joined by a great enthusiast and professional, the founder of a kiteboarding school in Miami, Ribot. Chris had been a member of the Key West Cuba and Miami Key West crossing teams, so his experience in preparing and passing the new route was indispensable. Preparations for the kite crossing began long before the kiters ended up on Bimini Island. A few weeks before the start, Konstantin and Vladimir contacted Chris and his team to unite and coordinate their plans together. In the shortest time possible, all visas and permits were obtained, security equipment and GPS links were prepared on board, and an escort boat with a captain was scheduled in. A lot of time and effort went into preparing the event. Now we have settled in well and are sitting comfortably enough to fly to Bimini Island. We flew and flew, and eventually arrived on Bimini. The flight was short, took off smoothly, flew in quickly. So everything's going well.
Bahamas.
There is no internet, so we are sitting quietly. No one is staring at their phones or tapping their screens. There is no connection, but there is a bus. The place is definitely for fishermen. We stayed at the Big Game Fishing Hotel, where everyone goes for big game fishing in Bimini. We did not find a kite station there. It certainly was a little funny when we got there to seek out the wind. Someone goes there to catch fish, we went to catch the wind.
This is our current location. We just landed here on the airport, took a little ferry back there to Big Game Marina. We're actually right now here, and then we're gonna get a golf cart to go to the beaches all the way. This is a kite spot, as you can see. We can start anywhere from there, and off we go that way, all the way up to here.
The crossing began on February 4th at 8:15 AM on the island of Bimini and ended on the sandy beach of Key Biscayne, Miami. The kiters covered a distance of 108 kilometers in 5 hours and 55 minutes. although it was originally assumed that the length of the route would only stretch 85 kilometres. The average crossing speed was 18 kilometres per hour. The safety of the passage was ensured by the escort boat, and the participants were equipped with GPS trackers, information from which was transmitted via radio to the captain of the boat. He monitored the position of all the kiters on the route. For communication at sea, each participant received a walkie-talkie that allowed them to keep in touch at a distance of 5 kilometres, and a headset that works at a distance of up to 600 metres. Equipment for emergency calls to rescue services were also provided. The amount of devices and electronics hanging off of us was, of course, immeasurable. There were GPS trackers, our helmets were connected via BB talking, it was pretty much anything you could think of. So from a technical point of view, we were fully prepared. Nevertheless, our kiters had uncertain difficulties ahead of them, and though their previous crossing saw the athletes manage to avoid meeting with sharks, this time it was bound to be almost inevitable. It was very hard to sleep before the crossing. I dreamed of sharks the whole night. These huge, bullish sharks that swim here in Bimini right by the shore. It's a sight, you know? They just swim up to the shore, huge, well-fed. You look at them, they look at you, and you know that you have to start the crossing tomorrow. It was rather unpleasant. But the sharks, as it turned out, were not interested in the kiters, and trouble was thankfully avoided. The same could not be said about the weather conditions and American officials. The kiters considered this crossing to be a warm-up, expecting to go perform a follow-up from Key West to Cuba immediately afterwards. The Bimini-Miami kite crossing was scheduled for the morning of February 3rd, when a good wind of 15 knots was blowing. But during the approach near the Gulfstream, the escort boat was damaged by the waves and wind, forcing it to stop for repairs in Fort Lauderdale. After the damage was fixed, the boat could only arrive closer to night time, and it was therefore decided to postpone the event to February 4th, when there was no wind at all. The wind was turning a bit foul. It was impossible to start from the shore in the morning, so we had to move away from the beach. We instead started from the boat, which was a rocky beginning. Only the presence of a 15-metre duotone D-Lab kite saved the crossing. The entire event was on the verge of collapse, but the following days remained calm, so the kiters decided to venture out into a very light wind of less than 10 knots, using a kite magnifying glass to improve traction. Well, there was a moment where we couldn't see a thing around. The main thing is that there was some wind. Not much, but enough, and you could keep going. Enough for a twin tip, and the waves weren't huge. That kite crossing is not just about standing up and going from point A to B, but a careful monitoring of the weather conditions, political situations, and the joint actions of the team. A unique aspect of this team crossing from Bimini to Miami is the athletes' testing of 3 different types of boards in very light wind conditions. Vladimir Popov used a TTR twin tip throughout the route, Konstantin Aksenov went on a directional surfboard, and Christopher Ribot chose to travel via a foil. There was very little wind, so they had to use the largest available kite, 15 meters in size. Vladimir raised his kitesurfing level a lot. I watched him pull maybe 5 meters per second, 10 knots. He went on a twin tip on a 15-meter kite, all on his own, holding on for a long time. And when approaching the end of the crossing, Chris Ribot praised the level of preparation for the event.
And I'm so pleased to be part of the team. Everything was well thought, everything was extremely organized, from the tools we have for safety, the tracker, the GPS, the communication on board.
Everyone, we've arrived! We've done it! Another adventure of fearless kiters has come to an end. Thanks to high-quality preparation and a responsible approach, none of the athletes were injured and everyone managed to get to the finish line safe and sound. This once again shows the professionalism of athletes who sincerely love their work and approach their craft with the utmost efficiency. Why are we doing this? The era of great geographical discoveries might have passed us already, and we are unlikely to discover new islands and new countries kitesurfing. We kitesurf to discover ourselves. We do what no one before us has done.
Kiteboarding, it's all about freedom, and once we're on the water, in harmony with the weather, the wind, the sky, and the ocean, it feels for us there is no limit.
I took part in this adventure as a camera operator. We managed to travel a lot around America in 2 weeks. The team was great. It was a very pleasant experience travelling with these guys, crossing the oceans and seas by kite, linking countries together. It's all a blast. They await new peaks and routes for the future, and are already preparing for the next move to Cuba at the earliest opportunity, choosing which starting point may be the most favourable. The Cancun in Mexico, Montego Bay in Jamaica, or the West Indies in the Bahamas. An unfortunate fact is that the US representatives have shown little interest in helping to organise the crossing, while the Cubans have actively participated and supported the athletes. As originally planned by the kiters, after crossing Bimini-Miami, they immediately wanted to make a second crossing from Key West to Cuba. But the US representatives refused to provide an escort boat for the second mission. Considering that even with a fully equipped boat it is very dangerous to travel a distance of 170 kilometers in the open ocean, there are very few helpful words to be said about travelling with kites alone. Administrative problems are huge. We need to drop a bunch of documents, approvals, so we will have to prepare for this project more seriously. Therefore, at the moment, the athletes are left to choose a new starting point for the crossing in order to get to Cuba.